Cuckoo, Kashu, what it do? So I'm gonna break down day two of the silent retreat, which was Tuesday. Tuesday was still a talking day. We still had our phones until the nighttime. It was more of like an orientation day. So we woke up at 7. Yoga was at 8. It was called asana, or meditative yoga. And that was probably the most challenging thing for me the entire time was yoga. I'm not flexible at all. It's not something that I've done before. So shout out to all my yoga girlies and guys because it was difficult. At the end, I loved it. Now I do yoga on the beach in the mornings while I'm still here at the resort, at a resort. Um, but it was something that I found myself resisting at first for sure. Because when you haven't done something before, you judge yourself. So it was new to me. And a lot of the people who attended the retreat were yoga instructors and things like this. So they were familiar with it. It was unfamiliar to me. So I didn't like being the kid that didn't know what they were doing in that particular capacity. But again, I learned to not judge myself, meet me where I'm at, and as long as I was trying my best, then I was doing what I was supposed to do. And once I learned to focus on my breathing, yoga became the the time where I found I was able to quiet my thoughts the longest. Because I was focused on the movement, focused on breathing, focused on the holds. So yoga became something that I'm interested in continuing. So we did yoga at 8 a.m. Brunch was at 9:30. So you would do yoga, and then we have a 30-minute gap between yoga and breakfast where we were do individual meditation. So we meditate, and then breakfast at 9:30. From 9:30 to 11, we had breakfast, and then at 11 o'clock, we would meet with Alex. And on this particular day, it was just a welcome, an intro to the retreat, and he kind of just reiterated what I broke down for you guys yesterday, the who you are at your core. So another analogy or metaphor that was used was clay, right? We all are divine consciousness at our core. That is the God that is within all of us. And that God is unconditional love that we're supposed to give to ourselves and then extend that to others. So for people who are having a hard time grasping the concept that we're all the same and we're all one, think about clay. You attend a pottery class, you're all using clay. You make a bowl, I make a plate, she makes a fork, he makes a spoon. They all are shaped differently, right? They all have different experiences, but at the core, it's just clay. And when I thought about it in that way, it helped me see how the same we truly are and how we all have the same consciousness, the same awareness of what is. And that makes it easier to extend unconditional love, forgiveness, and compassion to others because we're all just beings trying to do the best we can with what we have. And that was beautiful for me to understand. After we had our initial intro, we had snack. Snack was usually at 3 o'clock. So we meet with Alex from 11 to 3 this day, but that time block was broke down differently on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I'll explain that tomorrow when I do the Wednesday. We had snack every day at 3, and then we met up again in the sala to discuss breathing techniques, wake up information, the question box, tour, etc. So we had our snack, we met up. He taught us coherence breathing, which is like breathing up for 4 seconds, breathing out for 4 seconds, or you can do breathe in for 3, out for 4. But always exhale longer than you inhale because the following day we started doing breath work before yoga. So we learned a basic breathing technique that we could take with us in the next day. They explained to us how we'll be waking up every day going forward, which was with a little sound bowl, which was beautiful. It was a immaculate way to wake up. So we woke up every day at 7. They asked if anybody like needed a knock, like if you sleep hard, if you're a light sleeper, etc. I explained I had insomnia, so sometimes I'm gonna already be up waiting, and some days I might have just fallen asleep at 6, so I might need a knock because I'm just getting into my REM sleep, my deep sleep at 7 in the morning. So we woke up with a sound bowl. They explained that. And then they told us about the question box. So there was a box in the back of the room that we met up because we after we transitioned into silence, we did everything in the same area, the Zen Sala. So we had breakfast, lunch, snack there. We meditated there. We did yoga there because the retreat services other people, so we didn't have to interact with them. We would see them in passing, but this is how we limited our interaction with other people. And there was a question box. So one, they explained to us that at any moment you decide that the silence is too much, and you want to back out, you could write that. Someone will come talk to you, and you still have your room, you still have access to everything in the retreat, but you won't be able to participate in the program, like the lectures, the meditation, the yoga that we did. But there's yoga, there's other things on the retreat that you could still have. You still have your room. You just wouldn't, be a part of the actual silence program. So that was something. Nobody backed out, I was really impressed. I think I had a great group. I love the people that I went with. So that, and then if you had like a burning question that you could not let go, for a couple days, they said sit with it for a couple days, and then if it's still bothering you, you can ask it in the question box, and then when Alex came, he would read them and explain to us the question. I used the question box once, and my question was, does our souls choose our experiences prior? Because as I explained to you guys, like when you experience so much trauma, it's hard to think that before I came into my body, I was like, oh yes, I want to live that life, So that was my question. And later on down the line, it got answered. And when it did, on the day it did, I will explain that answer for you guys. We were supposed to do a tour of the facility, but it was pouring, raining. So Mark, who is like in charge of logistics, came up and he just like pointed out areas of, the retreat where we would be meeting, at places we had access to. We had access to a private beach. So a lot of us took our meditation there. There was some areas with huge boulders, and we would meditate over those, overlooking the water. It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place to do this type of thing, because when you're sitting in stillness and you're sitting in silence, but you got the waves, or you could see the sunset, the mountains. It was just, everything was so beautiful. But Tuesday was kind of just an introductory day. They explained to us everything, reiterated what it is that we are at our core, kind of released the attachment to becoming something or obtaining something, and just be. And remember that it's okay, just be. You don't have to hold on to, oh, what if I don't get the answers, or I don't have this massive breakthrough. That's not what you're here for. You're here to learn how to connect to yourself in any circumstance, any experience, any conditions. And like I said in my last post, that was something that just helped me ground myself throughout each moment. Like I had questions that I needed answered, and if I didn't get the answers, I felt like I was wasting my time. But knowing that kind of the whole point of this whole thing was figuring out who I am, and learning that I had access to that at any given moment, was a relief. I stopped looking for it and I just sat in it. That night for dinner at 6:30, we had this coconut curry. Every day we got, I forget the name of the box, I think bento boxes. It comes like 1, 2, 3, 4. They were full to the brim every day. So we had 4 different options, normally a soup, a salad, a main course, and something that went with it. This day, all I remember is the curry and the rice, because the curry and the rice was phenomenal. And we ate 99.2% vegetarian while we was there, and it was delicious. For dinner, it was like a white curry. It could have been a green curry, but it was white in color. I took the rice out of the other box, put it in the curry, and phenomenal. If I had this chef, I could go vegetarian tomorrow. It was just so delicious. So after dinner, we had a little time to ourselves, and then it was the phone turn-in and the silent ceremony. So for the silent ceremony, 8 o'clock, we all met in the sala. They went around the room. They had a bag, took our phones, our laptops, our devices, and collected them. And then the silent ceremony was, we sat around a table, and we had a piece of chocolate. There were incense burning, and it brought you through your senses. It was so beautiful. So first, we took a bite of the chocolate and focused on the taste, and allowed the taste to dissolve in our mouth. And as the taste dissolved, then we focused on the smell of the incense. And then after the smell, we focused on what we felt in our body. And then we closed our eyes and we focused on what we heard. And then no, sorry, what we saw, and then we closed our eyes and focused on what we could hear, and then we dissolved ourselves into the silence. And after that, we sat with that, we meditated, and that was it. And it was a beautiful, beautiful way to, you know, engage each sense and all the way into the stillness, all the way into the quiet. And it was explained to us too, like there's two different types of silence, right? There's silence where it's the lack of sound, where there's just no sound. And there's the silence that's behind the sound. And that's the silence that is the being that we always have access to. And I discovered that too this morning. I'm on the beach. There's kids playing. There's adults out there talking, having conversation. And I'm able to dissolve myself into the silence of being regardless of what was going around, and kind of just block all that out and just be. So there's silence, which is the lack of sound, but there's silence behind the sound that you have access to at any given moment. So we had the silent ceremony, we gave up our phones, and then we turned in for the night. I think everybody was exhausted. We wake up at 7. Our last thing goes till 9. It was my first like good night of sleep in a long time, but it was my only full night of sleep the entire time, and I had the craziest dreams. I had a dream that someone came to me and told me my biological father passed away. I had a dream that I was at the doctor's and they told me I had a brain tumor and I needed to contact somebody I love, and the person that I contacted was somebody who I haven't spoken to in 15 years. It was just some really, really weird dreams. But again, it was the first full night of sleep I got in a long time, so I was grateful to even have had the experience of dreaming, because it's been a minute. Lately, all my dreams have been kind of weird, but yeah, so Tuesday was still a talking day. We turned in our phones. 8 p.m. we went silent. No phones, no books, no journaling, no reading. We had notebooks that they gave us, but I didn't particularly use mine to necessarily journal. Like I said, if I had a question, I would write it down. If I had a burning thought that I needed to share, I would write it down. But like, I wasn't going back to my room at night and journaling. We had lectures every day. So like when they were teaching us meditation, Alex would also explain the philosophy between each technique. So you're not just meditating to meditate, but you also, you know, the techniques, philosophy behind it. So yeah, that was Tuesday. If you guys have any more questions about this particular day, comment below. And Wednesday is when it starts to get good, because now we're quiet, right? Now we're embodied in the silence, and this is where you start to challenge yourself, you start to test yourself, you start to feel, you know, how your mind really operates, and how distant you are from who you really are, but how close you are at the same time. Thank you guys for listening. I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.